Happy good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Wednesday, the 6th of July. I'm going live at, it is now 1:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I wanted to talk about some news of significance that has only just come out within the past few minutes, within the past half hour. That's the stories I'm reading on it. And I'm going to read one directly. This is from ABC News, News Channel 6, WJBF.com, an ABC News affiliate. And they give the weather for Augusta, so they must be somewhere in Georgia. And here it is. And this is from AP, which is the American Press. It's a wire service. Dateline Elberton, Georgia. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said the Georgia Guidestones monument near Elberton was damaged by an explosive device. Elberton Granite Association Executive Vice President Chris Kubas told local news outlets that the monument was significantly damaged. Pictures and drone footage show one of the 4 stone panels in rubble on the ground. The enigmatic roadside attraction was built in 1980 from local granite, commissioned by an unknown person or group under the name R.C. Christian. The 19-foot high, 6 meters, panels bear a 10-part message in 8 different languages with guidance for living in an, quote, age of reason. One part calls for keeping world population at 500 million or below, while another calls to guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. It also serves as a sundial and astronomical calendar. The roadside attraction received renewed attention during Georgia's May 24 gubernatorial primary, when third-place Republican candidate Candace Taylor claimed the Guidestones are satanic and made demolishing them part of her platform. The site is about 7 miles, 11 kilometers, north of Elberton, near the South Carolina state line. Says the bomb appears to have gone off around 4 a.m., with sheriff's deputies responding to discover the damage. Some residents told local news outlets they heard an explosion at that time. Elbert County Sheriff's deputies, Elberton Police, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation were among agencies to try and figure out what happened. The monument has at 706-283-2421 or the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and they give you that number. If anyone wants, I will link the article. I'll put it into the comments. Actually, I can do that now as I'm talking. Now, what I find most interesting about this is a lot of people know about the Georgia Guidestones. I've known about them for 20 odd years. But then conversely, there's a lot of people who I speak to about them who were not even aware that this exists. It's been up since, I believe they started to build them in 1979 and 1979, and that they went up surreptitiously, no fanfare, no big unveiling. They just basically showed up overnight and people, what the heck is that? And they have at times been referred to as America's Stonehenge, because they're astronomically aligned. It's 4 stones kind of offset against each other with a stone on top that they refer to as the sky. There are marker stones outside, and those marker stones basically, I believe they track the sun on the solstices on the longest day of the year and the shortest day. Summer solstice is June 21st, give or take a day. Winter solstice, December 21st, give or take a day. So track the sun's progression. very much like the pyramids in Egypt, all kinds of mathematical alignments. I'm getting some comments. Trent Dabbs is saying must have been somebody who knew what they were doing. I'm going to pronounce this other name, Guinea. About these Georgia Guidestones is the simple fact that if you talk to a lot of people, that what? It's never been on the news. So if something is not covered on the nightly news, it doesn't exist. And people do rely on the news to tell them what is important in the world and also what to think about it, what opinion to hold, what is the right opinion to have. And because the Georgia Guidestones get zero coverage in the mainstream, people don't even know they're there. And they're freaky. These are, I read 2 of the guiding principles. I'll leave it to others. You can now, I'm sure, research and people will be reading up on the Georgia Guidestones, many for the commandment, if you will. There are 10 of them. And the first one is to maintain human population under 500 million. That was referenced in the ABC article. The second point about guiding reproduction wisely to improve, fitness and diversity, things of that nature, that reeks of eugenics. Sorry, Trent, about the buffering. Normally I do these late at night when internet traffic. I live in the boonies, southeastern Ontario, in a very rural area. So my internet connection probably isn't that robust. But regardless, anyway, under the pseudonym Arians, but no one knows, showed up at this granite company in Elberton, Georgia, and with very detailed blueprints on what he wanted constructed, and the cost was going to be the cost was going to be enormous. And I don't remember the specifics, but as I recall, the individual with the granite company quoted double, triple, quadruple what the project should actually cost, and because they didn't want to do it. It was just too monumental and a little too freaky. And the story is that this RC Christian anonymous individual said, no, get to work. And they built them. They made they did very well financially putting these stones up. And immediately they did attract some attention. But again, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN, no news crews there. You can't find any footage. There was nothing. I was alive back in 1980. I was 14. There was no news on it. I didn't learn about them until sometime around 2000, 2001. And the inscriptions, those 10 commandments, are dystopian, to say the least. I'm going to go through some of the comments. Everyone's saying it's offering. Trent saying, yeah, we know all about these stones for the longest time. It was a nothing burger. But in the 2000s, it became an urban legend. Some individuals do know about them. A lot of people don't. They think a conspiracy theory. And it would be what the amount of money they had to have to construct these things and to plan them and everything else. We're not dealing with Joe and Bob down to the play a prank. And if you look at these guiding principles, they're written in 8 world languages, the 8 most, because there are 4 stones and they're inscribed on each side: English, French, German, Chinese. In the world, the world's 8 most spoken languages, most used languages. And then I believe as well, they're written into a number of ancient languages. I believe Hebrew, maybe Sanskrit, and again, these guiding principles reek of eugenics. They reek of nature worship. And how could you ever achieve such a thing as reducing the world's population and maintaining it under 500 million? And how could you guide and direct human reproduction without some dystopian, new world order type of thing? I mean, you'd have to gain control of the entire planet Earth and its population, because any country or countries that didn't play along would blow the plan. I mean, look at China right now. I believe China has 1.4, 1.5 billion people. India has 1.4, 1.5. That's 3 billion people roughly in that part of, in those two countries. And they're saying maintain human population below 500 million. That's like less than 90. That would mean eradicating 95% of the world's population. Now, Trent, I believe it was, or maybe it was Guinea, someone making a comment, talked about how the stones are under video surveillance, that they must be. I have read previously that due to previous vandalism that has occurred, that the stones are under 24-hour, 7-day a week, 65-day a year, closed circuit television surveillance. So how this could happen under the dark of night, there would have to be video evidence of something happening. The articles that I've read, and again, this isn't in the mainstream, have said the stones were under 24-hour surveillance, never indicated exactly who would be watching or monitoring or taping the stones, who's behind that. It may be local authorities. It could be. The stones apparently had become something of a tourist attraction, a low level. It's not Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore isn't a conspiracy theory. The Guidestones, these Georgia Guidestones, were thought by many people to be not real. Oh yeah, they had the Georgia Guidestones, right? Yeah, sure. It was important. The news would cover it, and they would tell me what to think about it, the way they tell you what to think about everything else, what to think and how to feel. That's the job of news programming in today's world. So interesting. I do surf around and I do read voraciously about what's going on in the world, and know that there were some individuals talking about the fact that the collider, it's the CERN collider in Switzerland, that it was being fired up yesterday. And I actually read an article, mainstream article, talking about the fact that they just ran it again for the first time in something like 10 years. And there's some freaky articles going on. It was actually that accelerator, which basically they're smashing atoms and particles against each other. I mean, I don't know how big it is. It's massive. It's 17 kilometers or something. It's a big circle. And they take particles and atoms and things of that nature, and they send them whipping around this big circular tube, apparently at close to the speed of light, or maybe even in excess of the speed of light. I'm not a physicist, so that in smashing these atoms and particles together, that this led to the discovery of the so-called Higgs boson particle, which is sometimes referred to as the God particle. And now I read that with the experiment they did within the last day or two, again, smashing atoms and particles against each other, that they have discovered, I believe it was 3 new particles that had been theorized and now have been observed. And it just, the timing seems curious. At the same time, I forget the name of that collider, the Hadron, Hadron, regardless, let's call it CERN. I find the timing curious, that they seem to have coincided very closely, the destruction of this monument in Elberton, Georgia, the Georgia Guidestones, with its very New World Order-esque 10 Commandments, guide human reproduction wisely. Wisely according to whom? Who decides what individuals get to? There's a gentleman, and I forget his name. I believe he's French or Middle Eastern. He's a senior advisor to Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum, and now he's talking about humanity as being nothing more than a programmable machine, and that the concept of a soul and human rights and God-given rights are antiquated, yesterday's news. So just reading through, people have vandalized them before, more than once. Lots of people think crazy stuff about the CERN. And to be entirely honest, when it comes to things of that nature, I'll listen to them, I'll process them, and many of them I'll just stick to the side more or less and say, okay, I'll take a wait and see approach. And that's the case with CERN. I'm in wait and see mode. As I know it, I just find it curious the timing that the two things seem to. I don't think they happened. I don't think they happened at exactly the same time. I don't know what time they fired up this collider. It's just the film, the reaction. Same thing happens when you use a nuclear weapon. Hard to film a nuke up close. These are comments that Trent. Anyway, the one significant thing I find about this is that it opens up people's eyes to the fact that the Georgia Guidestones exist and are real, because now the mainstream press has been forced to cover it. And so many people will have friends, family member who have told them about them, and they've immediately gone, oh yeah, here's your tinfoil hat. And now they'll be like, oh my gosh, it's on the news. Now it's real. When Bob told me about it last, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, I thought he was crazy, but they're real. They've got coverage of it on the nightly news. Then they'll ask, now what am I supposed to think about this? And they'll wait for the news to tell them what to think about it. Those Guidestones, I wasn't aware that there was a Republican gubernatorial candidate in Georgia who was proposing to destroy them because they're satanic. I absolutely 100% believe they are satanic. I believe we're talking about Baphomet, that we're talking about I could go down the religious rabbit hole, and maybe I will. What the heck? For many people in the world, religion is enslavement, and that we should be all able to do as we feel, to do what's right in our own eyes, without being constrained, without these laws, rules, and commandments. And, but then who gets to decide? Who decides? And who gets to decide what are the desirable traits? What are, what is diversity? And it is a scary, scary notion. So I'll leave it there. I'll end it there. I've gone on for 20 odd minutes. Thank you everyone for watching. You're more than welcome to like and share. If you do think I have something to contribute to the conversation, as it were, likes and shares help increase my visibility. I don't know much about this tech world, but I know that there's all kinds of talk of algorithms and such which suppress content that YouTube and other technocrats don't want out there. But a way to defeat these algorithms algorithms is through likes and shares and things like that, apparently. And besides that, it gives me a little dopamine burst in the brain. Wow, I got a like, I got to share. Woo. Anyway, God bless everyone, and stay tuned. New and strange things are happening every day. Talk to you later.